The massive alien warship emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, its crystalline hull gleaming under the distant sunlight. Captain Tom Reed of the Earth Defense Force stood on the bridge of humanity's flagship, the EDF Protector, watching the tactical display with growing concern. For centuries, humans had been told they were the only known species to evolve on a death world, a planet so hostile that it forced its inhabitants to become incredibly resilient and adaptable. That belief was about to be shattered. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," reported Anna, the communications officer. Her fingers flew across the holographic interface as she worked to decrypt the alien signal. "It's different from anything we've encountered before." The message that came through was simple but chilling: "We are the Stalkers. We too are children of the dark places, where death walks freely. Your claim to be the galaxy's only Deathworlders ends today." Tom's grip tightened on the command rail. In the 3 decades since humanity had joined the Galactic Council, they had earned both fear and respect from other species. Their natural strength, endurance, and ability to survive in extreme conditions had made them legendary among the stars. Some alien races couldn't even visit Earth without wearing environmental suits, as its gravity and atmospheric pressure would crush them. But these Stalkers were different. The initial scans showed their ship's internal environment was even more hostile than Earth's: higher gravity, more toxic atmosphere, and extreme temperatures. Their hull was made of living crystal that adapted and repaired itself, something human scientists had only dreamed of creating. "Multiple smaller vessels launching from the mothership," reported Mark, the sensor officer. "Sir, they're biosignatures. They're stronger than ours." Tom watched as dozens of crystalline fighters emerged from the larger vessel. The Stalkers moved with an efficiency that spoke of natural predators, their ships executing maneuvers that would kill most species with the G-forces alone. "All hands to battle stations," Tom ordered, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Contact Earth Command and the Galactic Council. Tell them we've met our match." The Stalkers' fighters approached in a perfect formation, their crystalline hulls pulsing with an inner light. Through the enhanced viewport, Tom could see their pilots, massive, armor-plated beings with multiple limbs, their bodies evolved to survive conditions that would kill even the hardiest human. "Sir," Anna's voice carried a note of surprise. "They're sending another message." The alien voice resonated through the bridge: "We do not seek war, children of Earth. We seek to test our strength against worthy opponents. For too long, both our species have stood alone at the peak. Today, we discover who truly deserves the title of Supreme Deathworlders." Tom straightened his uniform and made a decision. Humanity had never backed down from a challenge, and they wouldn't start now. But perhaps this meeting didn't have to end in bloodshed. "Open a channel," he commanded. "Tell them we accept their challenge, but propose a series of controlled competitions instead of open warfare. If they truly want to test their strength against ours, there are better ways than mutual destruction." As the message was transmitted, Tom looked at the faces of his crew. They were scared, yes, but there was also excitement in their eyes. Humans had always wondered if they were alone in their resilience, if they were truly unique in the galaxy. Now they had their answer. The response from the Stalkers came quickly: "Your proposal is acceptable. Prepare your champions. The trials begin in one planetary rotation. May the strongest species prove their worth." The bridge crew exchanged glances. They had avoided immediate conflict, but the real challenge was just beginning. Humanity's status as the galaxy's supreme survivors was at stake, and the trials ahead would push both species to their absolute limits. Tom smiled grimly. "Well, crew, it looks like we're about to make history. Let's show these Stalkers what humans are really capable of." As the Earth Defense Force began preparations for the upcoming trials, one thing became clear: the galaxy was about to witness a competition unlike any in its history, a true clash of Deathworlders. The chosen arena was Mars' deepest canyon, Valles Marineris, transformed by centuries of terraforming into a treacherous testing ground. Captain Tom Reed stood at the observation deck of the hastily constructed neutral station, watching as both human and stalker representatives prepared for the first trial. "They're calling it the Endurance Run," explained Dr. Lisa Wilson, Earth's leading xenobiologist. She gestured to the holographic display showing the course. A 100-kilometer trek through the canyon, with environmental hazards programmed to change every 10 kilometers. Both species will face their worst nightmares. The human champion was Jack Stone, a veteran explorer who had survived 3 years alone on Venus during the Great Station collapse. His weathered face showed no fear as he checked his minimal survival gear. The rules allowed only basic equipment that both species could use. The stalker champion, who called itself Runner, towered over Jack by nearly 2 feet. Its crystalline armor wasn't a suit, but part of its biological structure, refracting light in mesmerizing patterns. 4 powerful limbs supported its massive frame, while 2 smaller arms held tools with practiced precision. "Environmental systems are ready," announced the Galactic Council Observer, a floating orb that housed a gaseous intelligence. "The course will test both species' limits. Section 1 begins with extreme heat, Section 2 with crushing pressure, Section 3 with toxic atmosphere, Section 4 with sub-zero temperatures, and Section 5 with rapidly changing conditions." Tom watched as both champions took their positions. The entire galaxy was watching this broadcast, betting on which species truly deserved the title of ultimate deathworlders. But something about Runner's stance bothered him. The stalker seemed almost relaxed. The signal to begin flashed across the canyon, and both champions launched into action. Jack's movements were efficient, each step calculated to conserve energy for the long haul. Runner moved differently, its crystalline form flowing like liquid metal despite its size. The first section turned the canyon into a furnace, temperatures soaring past 200 degrees Celsius. Jack's thermal suit worked overtime, while Runner's crystalline surface simply adapted, changing structure to reflect the worst of the heat. "Fascinating," muttered Dr. Wilson, recording everything. "Their biological crystals aren't just armor, they're a complete adaptive system. But look at Jack's pace. He's keeping up." Indeed, both champions maintained an impressive speed through the heat zone. When they hit the crushing pressure of Section 2, the differences in their approaches became clear. Jack relied on technique and experience, finding paths where the pressure was slightly less intense. Runner simply powered through, its crystalline structure redistributing the force across its entire body. The toxic atmosphere of Section 3 revealed something unexpected. Jack pulled ahead, his natural human adaptability proving superior to Runner's crystalline defenses. Generations of living on a planet with constantly changing air quality had given humans an edge in processing different atmospheric conditions. "They're not used to variation," Tom realized aloud. "Their crystals are powerful, but slow to adapt to completely new conditions. We change faster." The sub-zero fourth section should have favored Runner, whose crystalline body seemed impervious to cold. But Jack's experience on Venus's dark side proved invaluable. He maintained his lead, using the ice formations for faster travel while Runner struggled to maintain its previous pace. As they entered the final section, with its rapidly changing conditions, the true difference between the species became clear. Humans hadn't just evolved to survive harsh conditions, they had evolved to survive changing conditions. While Runner's adaptations were more powerful in any single environment, Jack's ability to quickly adjust to new situations proved superior. The final kilometer became a sprint. Runner's crystalline form blazed with internal energy, pushing its impressive biology to the limit. Jack, despite his exhaustion, matched the pace. Both champions, representing the apex of their species' evolution, gave everything they had. Jack crossed the finish line exactly 2.3 seconds before Runner. The observation deck erupted in cheers, but Tom noticed something even more interesting. Runner's crystalline form shifted, creating what appeared to be a smile. The Stalker champion approached Jack, who stood gasping for breath but upright, and extended one of its smaller arms in what was clearly a gesture of respect. "Your victory is well earned," Runner's translated voice carried across the command channel. "We thought our superior biology would guarantee our supremacy. We failed to consider that true strength lies not in being the strongest in one environment, but in being strong in all of them." Jack grasped the offered limb firmly. "You gave me the hardest race of my life. I'd be honored to learn more about how you handle sustained high-pressure environments. Your technique in Section 2 was incredible." Tom exchanged glances with Dr. Wilson. This was an unexpected but welcome development. Perhaps this competition would lead to something more valuable than proving superiority, a chance for two apex species to learn from each other. "Sir," his communication officer's voice came through his earpiece. "The Stalker mothership is transmitting. They're sharing technical data about their crystalline biology. They say it's a gesture of respect between equals." Tom smiled. The second trial would begin tomorrow, but already this encounter was becoming something more than a simple competition. It was becoming an exchange between two species that had both conquered death worlds, each with their own unique strengths. The galaxy watched in amazement as the two most formidable species in known space began to share their secrets, neither superior, but both extraordinary in their own ways. The second trial had ended in a Stalker victory, their champion dominating a test of pure strength in Jupiter's crushing gravity. Now, as the third trial approached, tension filled the observation deck of the neutral station. This time, the challenge would test more than physical capabilities. "A survival maze," Captain Tom Reed explained to the assembled human delegation. "Both species will send in 3 champions. They'll need to escape a labyrinth filled with environmental hazards, logic puzzles, and situations requiring cooperation." The human team consisted of Jack Stone, fresh from the first trial, Maria Torres, a deep space rescue specialist, and Ben Cooper, a veteran of the Mars underground colonies. They stood ready, their minimal equipment checked and double-checked. The Stalker team included Runner, now sporting new crystalline patterns from their previous competitions, and 2 others they called Thinker and Builder. Their crystalline forms showed subtle variations. Thinker's surface rippled with complex patterns, while Builder's structure seemed more rigid and geometric. "The maze is a joint creation," announced the Galactic Council observer. Each species contributed elements based on their own survival challenges. Neither side knows the full layout. You have 6 hours to reach the exit. Teams enter from opposite sides. Tom watched the holographic display as both teams entered the maze. The structure itself was a technological marvel, using advanced force fields and matter manipulation to create ever-changing challenges. Each section could transform into different environments within seconds. The first major challenge came when both teams independently encountered a chamber filled with rapidly crystallizing gas. The Stalkers moved to pass through directly, their natural armor providing protection. The humans, however, stopped to analyze. "Look at the crystal formation patterns," Maria pointed out to her teammates. "They're not random. It's a code." While the Stalker team pushed through brute force, taking damage to their crystalline armor, the humans decoded the pattern and found a way to temporarily halt the crystallization process. They passed through unharmed, making up valuable time. The next challenge revealed something unexpected. Both teams reached a central chamber simultaneously, finding themselves separated by an energy barrier. On each side was half of a complex mechanical puzzle that could only be solved through cooperation. "Interesting," Tom muttered, watching the teams assess each other through the barrier. "This tests more than survival skills. It tests trust." Runner stepped forward, its crystalline form shifting to create patterns that the humans recognized from their shared technical data, a sign of peaceful intent. Jack responded by laying down his tools and approaching the barrier. What followed amazed the watching galaxy. Without sharing a common language, using only gestures and mathematical principles, the two teams began to work together. The humans' quick problem-solving complemented the stalkers' precise manipulation of physical systems through their crystalline appendages. The cooperation continued even after they solved the puzzle and could have resumed competing. Both teams realized that sharing information about the challenges they'd encountered would benefit everyone. They developed a simple system of warnings and signals, helping each other avoid the worst hazards while still maintaining their competitive spirit. "They're adapting to each other," Dr. Wilson observed, fascination clear in her voice. "The stalkers are learning to think more flexibly, while our team is learning to utilize their environment more efficiently. They're becoming stronger by working together." The final section of the maze presented the greatest challenge yet. A massive chamber with rapidly shifting gravity, filled with floating platforms and deadly energy discharges. The only way through was a complex path that required both precise timing and incredible physical resilience. The teams approached it differently but with coordination. The stalkers used their crystalline forms to create stable anchor points, while the humans plotted the safest route through the chaos. When Thinker's crystalline structure was damaged by an energy surge, Maria didn't hesitate to help, using her rescue experience to stabilize the injured stalker. In return, when Ben became stranded on a disintegrating platform, Builder extended its form to create a crystalline bridge, risking its own safety to ensure no one was left behind. Both teams reached the exit within seconds of each other, with the humans emerging just slightly ahead. But as the trial ended, no one seemed concerned about the official winner. Runner approached Jack again, its crystalline surface creating complex patterns that the humans now recognized as expressions of respect and friendship. "Your species continues to surprise us," it said through the translator. "We thought we came here to prove our superiority. Instead, we are learning that true strength comes in many forms." Jack smiled, touching the crystalline surface of Runner's extended limb, a gesture that would have seemed impossible just days ago. "Maybe that's the real lesson here. We're both strong because we're different, not in spite of it." The Galactic Council observers' orb pulsed with approval. "This is unprecedented. Never in galactic history have two apex predator species chosen cooperation over conflict." Tom watched as human and stalker champions exchanged information about their experiences in the maze, already preparing for the challenges ahead. The fourth trial would begin tomorrow, but something more important was happening here. "Send a message to Earth Command," he ordered his communications officer. "Tell them we need to revise our approach to these trials. This isn't just about proving who's stronger anymore. It's about showing the galaxy what becomes possible when the strong work together." As the champions left the maze, their victory wasn't just about completing the trial. They had proven that even the most formidable warriors could choose understanding over dominance, and that true strength might lie not in proving superiority, but in learning to combine different kinds of power. The fourth trial was interrupted before it could begin. As both species prepared for a deep space survival challenge, emergency signals blared across all channels. Captain Tom Reed rushed to the command center of the neutral station, finding both human and stalker leaders already gathered around the main display. A massive void ship had emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. It belonged to the Void Hunters, ancient scavengers who preyed on civilizations they deemed worthy of testing. Their arrival wasn't a coincidence, they had been drawn by the broadcasts of the trials. "They seek to test themselves against proven warriors," explained the Stalker Admiral, its crystalline form pulsing with dark energy patterns that humans now recognized as concern. "Our competition has attracted their attention. The Void Hunter's message was broadcast across all frequencies. We have watched your trials with interest. Now face a true test. Survive our hunt, or both your species will be marked as prey for eternity." 3 massive hunter ships detached from the Void ship, each larger than Earth's biggest battlecruiser. Their black hulls absorbed all light, making them visible only by the stars they blocked out. The ships began moving toward Mars, where the neutral station orbited. "They're jamming our communications with Earth and the Stalker homeworld," reported Anna from her communications station. "We can't call for reinforcement." Tom looked at the assembled leaders of both species. The rivalry of the trials seemed distant now. "We have 6 ships in range, 3 human, 3 Stalker. The station's defenses are minimal." The Stalker admiral's crystalline form shifted, creating patterns that matched the tactical displays. "Their technology is ancient but powerful. They have hunted countless species to extinction. But they have never faced Deathworlders before, let alone 2 species of them." A plan formed quickly. The human ships were faster and more maneuverable, while the Stalker vessels had superior armor and energy weapons. Together, they might stand a chance. "Jack, Maria, Ben," Tom called to the human champions. "You've worked with the Stalkers in the maze. Can you coordinate with their warriors if we need to repel boarders?" Jack nodded, already checking his combat gear. Runner and his team adapted quickly during the trials. In close combat, our different capabilities could complement each other perfectly. The Void Hunters struck without warning. Their ships moved with impossible speed, firing weapons that distorted space itself. But they found themselves facing something unprecedented, a perfect defense formed by 2 apex predator species working in concert. The human ships darted between the massive hunter ships, their precise shots targeting vulnerable points that the Stalker's sensors had identified. The Stalker vessels formed an impenetrable barrier around the station, their crystalline hulls adapting to absorb and redirect the enemy's energy weapons. "They're launching boarding pods," warned Mark from Tactical. "Multiple targets, our ships, the Stalker vessels, and the station." Tom watched as the first wave of Void Hunters breached the station's outer hull. They were tall, skeletal creatures in black armor that seemed to drink in light. Their movements were unnaturally quick, and their weapons fired bolts of pure darkness. But they had never faced anything like the combined might of human and Stalker defenders. Jack and Runner fought back to back, the humans' quick strikes complementing the Stalker's crystalline weapons. Maria and Builder set up defensive positions, using their combined knowledge of station systems to trap and isolate hunter groups. Ben and Thinker coordinated the overall defense, their different approaches to strategy creating unpredictable tactics that kept the hunters off balance. In space, the battle raged with similar synchronization. Human ships would draw hunter fire, creating openings that Stalker vessels exploited with devastating effect. When a hunter ship managed to land a serious hit on the human cruiser, Defiant, 2 Stalker ships moved to protect it while it recovered, their crystalline hulls temporarily extending to shield their ally. The Void Hunters had never encountered such resistance. Their tactics relied on sowing fear and confusion, but both humans and Stalkers were creatures of death worlds. Fear had been burned out of their species by evolution long ago. The turning point came when Jack noticed something about the hunters' weapons. The darkness they're firing, it's similar to the crystallizing gas from the maze. It follows patterns. Thinker's crystalline form pulsed with recognition. Using their combined observations, human scientists and Stalker crystal shapers quickly developed a countermeasure. The hunters found their greatest weapons rendered useless by the cooperation of their intended prey. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, 2 hunter ships were destroyed, the third retreated with heavy damage, and the Void ship fled the system, broadcasting a single message: "You are not prey. You are beyond our hunt." In the aftermath, as human and Stalker medical teams worked together to treat the wounded of both species, Tom met with the Stalker admiral on the station's observation deck. "The trials seem rather pointless now," Tom said, watching repair crews, human and Stalker working side by side, fix the station's damaged sections. The Admiral's crystalline form created patterns of amusement. "On the contrary. Without the trials, we would never have learned to work together. Our competition revealed a greater truth, that different kinds of strength, when united, become something more powerful than either alone. The Galactic Council observers' orb glowed with unprecedented brightness. This shall be recorded in the eternal archives. The day two Deathworld species united and proved that evolution's greatest achievement is not the ability to dominate, but the wisdom to cooperate. As the solar system returned to normal, preparations began not for a fifth trial, but for a new kind of competition, war games and challenges designed to help both species learn from each other. The question of who was the ultimate Deathworlder had been answered in an unexpected way. True supremacy came not from being the strongest alone, but from being strong enough to join forces with equals. 1 year after the Void Hunters' attack, the Sol system hosted an unprecedented event. Ships from across the galaxy gathered to witness the inauguration of the Deathworld Alliance, a formal partnership between humanity and the Stalkers. The neutral station where the trials had begun was now transformed into Unity Station, a permanent base for joint operations and research. Captain Tom Reed, recently promoted to Admiral, stood at the main podium alongside the Stalker Admiral. Below them, hundreds of representatives from both species filled the station's grand hall. The crystalline architecture, a fusion of Stalker biology and human engineering, reflected the light in mesmerizing patterns. A year ago, Tom began, we gathered here as rivals, each believing we were the galaxy's ultimate survivors. We were both right, and wrong. Right about our strength, wrong about what that strength meant. The Stalker Admiral's crystalline form created patterns of agreement that the assembled humans could now easily read. Their year of cooperation had led to remarkable advances in interspecies communication. Our bodies evolved in different ways, the Admiral's translated voice resonated through the hall. But our spirits were forged in the same fires of adversity. In the front row sat the champions who had started it all. Jack Stone now led the joint training program, teaching both species to combine their unique abilities. Runner had become the head of biological research, its crystalline form now incorporating elements inspired by human adaptability. Together, they had developed new techniques that made both species stronger. Maria Torres and Builder had revolutionized space rescue operations. Their combined approach had already saved 3 colony ships from disaster, reaching them in conditions that neither species could have survived alone. Ben Cooper and Thinker had created a new field of adaptive architecture, using Stalker crystals and human innovation to build structures that could survive on any world. The galaxy once feared us, Tom continued, seeing Deathworlders as dangerous anomalies. Now they look to us for protection and innovation. The Void Hunters weren't the only threat lurking in the dark between stars, but together, we stand ready for whatever comes next. A holographic display activated above the podium, showing the first fruits of their alliance. A new class of ships, their hulls a perfect fusion of human technology and Stalker crystal biology. Joint colonies on worlds that had once been considered too hostile for any life. Medical breakthroughs that combined the regenerative properties of Stalker crystals with human cellular adaptation. But our greatest achievement, the Stalker Admiral's patterns pulsed with pride, is not in our technological advances. It is in proving that evolution's highest expression is not in domination, but in cooperation. We have become more than the sum of our parts. The evidence was all around them. Human children learning to read Stalker crystal patterns while young Stalkers practiced human sports adapted to their biology. Scientists of both species working together to unlock new secrets of survival. Warriors training side by side, each learning from the other's strengths. Dr. Lisa Wilson, now the head of xenobiology for the Alliance, stepped forward to present their latest findings. Our latest research shows something remarkable. Both our species are continuing to evolve, but now we're evolving in response to each other. Humans are developing enhanced crystal pattern recognition capabilities, while Stalkers are showing increased neural plasticity similar to human adaptability. The Galactic Council observer, who had witnessed the original trials, glowed with approval. In all our recorded history, we have never seen 2 apex species achieve such perfect symbiosis. You have opened a new chapter in galactic evolution. The ceremony continued with demonstrations of joint capabilities. Human stalker teams performed rescue operations in environments that would kill most species instantly. Combat units showed tactics that combined human creativity with stalker power. Scientists revealed projects that merged the best aspects of both species' approaches to survival. But the most powerful moment came during the cultural exchange. Human musicians played instruments made of living stalker crystal, creating sounds that touched both species deeply. Stalker crystal shapers created patterns that told human stories, their meanings clear to all who watched. Art, music, and story had become bridges between two very different kinds of life. We came here to prove we were the strongest, Tom concluded, looking out at the assembled faces, human and stalker alike. Instead, we proved that true strength lies in knowing when to join hands with those who challenge us. The galaxy once called us the only Deathworlders. Now they call us something else, pioneers of a new way forward. The Stalker Admiral's final patterns spoke of hope and determination. Let all who watch know this truth: evolution's greatest gift is not the power to survive alone, but the wisdom to recognize those who can help us thrive. We are no longer simply humans and stalkers. We are the next step in what life can become when it chooses cooperation over conflict. As the ceremony ended, ships from both species performed a joint flight demonstration, their formations weaving together in perfect harmony. The galaxy watched in awe as the two most powerful species in known space showed what was possible when ancient rivals became steadfast allies. In the station's observation deck, Jack and Runner stood side by side, watching the display. "Did you ever imagine this?" Jack asked, "when you first arrived to challenge us?" Runner's crystalline form created patterns of amusement and friendship, expressions that had become as clear to Jack as any human smile. "We came seeking to prove our superiority. We found something far more valuable, equals worthy of trust and respect." Above them, the ships continued their dance against the backdrop of stars, a living symbol of what was possible when the children of different death worlds chose to face the universe together. The myth of solitary supremacy had been shattered, replaced by a new truth, that the ultimate adaptation was learning to combine different kinds of strength into something greater than either could achieve alone.